Good morning. New rules mean leading online platforms will have to give the tax authorities details of people who make money from so-called side hustles on top of regular income.
Just what exactly is a side hustle? Let's be clear.
Yeah, I mean, at this time of year, dare I say it, people may have got things that they perhaps don't want over Christmas. They may think about selling them. But you've got to keep tabs on how quickly those things that you sell add up. Let me explain the rules and how they could affect you. Good morning. There are lots of different ways people earn extra cash. Some will rent out properties on sites like Airbnb. Others will sell things that they don't want or don't need on sites like Vinted or eBay. Now, if you earn money from something that is not your main job, it's increasingly referred to as a side hustle. And last year, around 44% of us earned an additional income on top of our main wage. From this week, though, digital platforms like all of these have to record how much money people are making through them and report it to the tax office each year. The first reports will have to be filed in January 2025. Now, Airbnb already does this, but the new rules mean it's no longer voluntary, but a compulsory requirement. Other information that will be shared with HMRC includes a seller's name, address, date of birth and bank details. The new regulations will only affect more regular users as opposed to occasional sellers. So we're talking about those who make more than 30 transactions a year. Vinted's boss says the site's users need not be worried by the changes.
So these changes only impact more frequent sellers on the platform, and we'll be actively reaching out to those sellers, explaining exactly what the new requirements are, why they exist. This is HMRC rules that are in place, apply to all platforms, and then we'll make it as easy as possible for them to provide the relevant information.
So why this change? Well, the government says the new data will help them to launch investigations where there are suspicions of tax dodging. HMRC, the tax office, has also signed up to a much wider global project to crack down on those who should be declaring an extra income but aren't. And with so many digital platforms based abroad, it means that tax inspectors will now be able to investigate those earning money through companies even operating outside the UK. Let's just remind you of the rules, though. This is important. In any tax year, you can earn up to £1,000 of additional income from a side hustle tax-free. This is known as the trading allowance. If you're making more than that, though, you have to declare it through a self-assessment tax return. And there are major penalties and fines if you don't. Side hustles, of course, become a popular way to boost earnings over the years, especially due to cost of living pressures. Lee McFarlane earns an additional income and says it's a choice that works for her.
I am traditionally employed part-time, but I also have children that I look after, and I run this now business that was initially a hobby. It's turned into a business on the side. Honestly, I think whether or not you become fully self-employed is a personal thing. It's not an easy gig being self-employed. There's not necessarily any sick pay. If you start doing the sort of thing I'm doing, where you are employed and you're also self-employed, then you definitely need to make sure you know what you're doing when it comes to tax, or you speak to somebody who does.
Some good advice from Lee there. And Sarah, John, I think the important point here is that, yes, earning a bit of money on the side through things like this can really help people. But what you don't want is to fall foul of the tax rules and then end up losing all that you've made because you've had to pay a penalty or a fine.
Yeah, really interesting. Thanks, Ben.